Good Saturday evening, everybody. It is David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office on this last day of May as we begin June 1st tomorrow. And you know what that means? Tomorrow is the first day of the Atlantic hurricane season 2025. We're ending May here with a potential busy start to the hurricane season, especially as we go into the end of this upcoming work week into the following week. So in this tropical weather outlook and discussion live edition, we will be answering your guys' questions, and we will also be looking at what is ahead in the tropics. Are we literally going to see a chance of tropical development out there in the Caribbean and in the Gulf throughout the middle of June? So in this live stream, we will be talking about that. But of course, before I do get started, if you all are new to the channel, please consider subscribing. If you do like these live streams, you like the live coverage, especially for the upcoming hurricane season, and also subscribe if you like the videos as well. All right, so we're going to welcome people here really quickly, and then we will actually get started because I don't want to ignore all of you guys, right? I hate coming across like that. So I'll be saying hello to you all here for a second, and then we will get rolling. What's up, Dawn? What's up, CJ C Johnson? How are you doing? What's up, Dawson? What's up, Holy? What's up, Magic Moon? What's up, Jason? What's up, Tanya? Earth Central? What's up, Dane? Tony H was in here earlier. What's up, Tony H? If you're still here, what's up, Curtis? CG Priest, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. It's an honor that you all are here. So let's get started on this fantastic Saturday evening before we get into June the 1st tomorrow, shall we? So what we're looking at here is a GOES 19 true color visible satellite imagery looking at the entire tropics, including the Gulf and the Caribbean, as well as the main development region out here. And right now, we don't have anything that is concerning in the immediate future. So that's good, right? The thumbs up, 7-up out there. Nice and dry and quiet, but things will be changing. Rest assured, by the time we go into the second week of June, like the Sunday or Monday, just beginning the second week, I think we are going to have to really, really watch this portion of the Caribbean and the Gulf as well. And the Eastern Pacific is still going to be rumbling with activity after we had with Alvin, which reached 65 miles an hour, which was a medium size or a middle class tropical storm out there. So with that being said, let's take a look now at what our models are showing, because this is really where it all comes down to. Is the latest GFS model still showing something really big, potentially developing in the Gulf around the second week of June? And the answer is, let's find out, right? So this look at the 850 millibar geopotential height cyclonic vorticity. So it's a 3-plot system. And so an easy way to read this is basically your color shading here. The yellows, the oranges, and the reds tell us how much spin there is in the atmosphere, right? How much rotation, right? So what you need for a system, or what we're looking for here, is a tightly wound up red spot on the map, okay? And that red spot basically tells us that, oh, we got a tropical depression, tropical storm, or even a major hurricane, right? And so that's what we look for here as weather forecasters, as in looking at the vorticity plot. But also our heights tell us another story. Is there a trough to the north like we see here on the GFS model, or is this dominant by a big old fat upper level or low level ridge pattern that we have in the Southern Gulf and the Caribbean, right? Allowing those trade winds to be quite strong. And the third parameter that we look at here on the 3-plot system is our wind vectors, right? Which way are the winds coming from and how strong are those winds actually? So in this model, we have a good trade wind regime going on across the Caribbean with those winds that are predominantly out of the east-southeasterly direction. So they're kind of doing this, and then they just kind of really fall apart here, and there's a weak little ridge here that we have in place over the northern Caribbean, and then the main ridge of high pressures out here in the I drew an A there, not an A, I meant to draw an H. Nice good sizable ridge of high pressure out there in the Atlantic. So this is a very important parameter. Even so, a lot of you are probably new and watching this live stream and like, what is David even talking about in the first place, right? Well, now you know what I'm talking about. This is the favorite layer. This is one of my favorite plots that I like to use, okay? Because it gives you 3 different parameters that we look at. And then, of course, there's another parameter that I like to look at every so often is the 850 millibar cyclonic vorticity. That would be the rainbow shading here. And then you got your 500 millibar height and your upper level winds, which are at 200 millibars. And this is showing us something a little different, but something really similar. So in my videos, you'll notice I will go back and forth between these two particular plot systems, okay? You'll see me use, where is it? Right here. And sometimes you'll see me use this parameter, this plot system, because, you know, they're very similar and it just depends on what we're looking for. If I'm looking for more upper level steering currents, I'll use that other plot. So that's what we're looking at. Okay, so let's put this into motion, right? What is David Schlotthauer here in the home weather office looking for? Well, we're looking for anything of this nature. So we have an area of spin right here. Okay, this is near Honduras, near Nicaragua in the northwestern Caribbean. And then we got a couple of other areas just off the coast of Tehuantepec in Mexico, and then one further off the coast there in the eastern Pacific. This, my folks, is what we look for on this plot system. These red spigot areas, areas of spin, areas of concentration where the air is converging in, and that's where we got the spin going on. But now the question is, will that spin intensify? Is the background state favorable to give way to these systems? So with that being said, let's take a look at with what we have. Okay, so by the way, if this actually develops, this would be in about 7 days. So I didn't want to get ahead of myself. So this would be for June the 7th. So not today's Saturday, since Saturday's already over with, but this is about 7 days from now. So early or late Friday night, early Saturday morning-ish is what we're looking at here. And should the GFS stay consistent here, we could be looking at something that could be brewing in the northwestern Caribbean. And a lot of you probably in my videos would ask me, why do I keep on saying possible? Why can't I say, oh, it's going to happen? Because for one thing, one model shows it, most of the other models don't show it, and secondly, this is very far out, so the models are going to have a hard time. So if you are wondering why I always say it's a possibility, that's one of the reasons why. Because I'll tell you what right now, models do not do very good at predicting tropical cyclones this far out in advance. Okay, it's another thing if it's 2 days out, right? But it's another thing when it's 7 days out, okay? So we really got to be careful what we look at here, okay? That's why if you go and watch other YouTubers, I don't want to call out them. I'm not trying to be with my ego here and trying to be the best YouTuber. No, that's not what I'm here for. But you do have to be careful with who you watch out there on YouTube, because there are a couple of YouTubers that are already sounding the alarm that we're going to have a major hurricane in the Gulf. This is going to be a very serious system, and it's going to cause a lot of impacts. I would really, really, really think a little bit twice about that for right now. I would really be just kind of think like, okay, if this person is saying this and this person is saying this along to go with the others, you should trust that person more, right? If that makes sense. Because I've been doing this for a long time. And if you want to know more information, go talk to Tony H. He is on the YouTube chat right now. And I know what I'm looking for. I've been doing this for a long time. Okay. So with that being said, okay, enough with the jibber jabber here. 10 days out, this is what the model is showing. And to me, this would be a hurricane if I was very biased on the GFS. I would be like, oh, this is going to be a major hurricane. But you know what? I'm just saying right now that there is still that signal, okay, for a tropical system to develop in the Northwestern Caribbean or the Gulf of Mexico. Not the Gulf of Mexico. Excuse me. The Gulf. I can say it too many times, right? Here's your ridge of high pressure here in the lower levels of the atmosphere. And that, my guys, is what we need to look for on the vorticity plot. The spin in the atmosphere, that black little dibble that you see there is a tropical storm or even a hurricane. Specifically on this model, if you want to be one model loving, this would be a major hurricane. But you know what? Because I'm conservative with my forecasting, especially over the last couple of years, this is telling me that we've got to watch. We still have to continue to watch the Gulf, okay, and the Northwestern Caribbean. Now, let's look back at past models, not just one, right? One is not enough. Power in numbers, right? So if we look at different model runs, this model shows it. The last run, let's go back to the 12Z run. It did have it, but a lot more faster. Okay, a lot more. Actually, no, wait. Yeah, a little faster, that is. And it had it off the coast of Tampa Bay, Florida. Now, of course, a YouTuber that makes a video would say, oh, this is bad news. It's going to hit Florida. Please. 10 days out, okay? Look at the date. June 10th, Tuesday morning. Okay, what's today? The 31st? So we got like 10 days out, okay? A little, maybe just right underneath 10 days. It wouldn't really matter, okay? This is Tuesday morning, not this Tuesday, but the following Tuesday. And then if we look at a prior run than that, go back to here. You can see it's been there. It's been showing up in the last three models. Over here, over there, over here, over here, over here, over here. And so it's been showing up in almost in every model run for a while. So that is why we still have to watch this. Okay, even so, the Euro, and I will give you a whole big spoiler alert. The European model is not showing it. The Canadian model is not showing it. But as long as one model shows it, the possibilities are there. Okay, maybe the GFS sees it. Maybe the GFS has a good handle. Maybe that big model upgrade that they did back in February might have fixed this whole biasy to the tropics. We shall see, right? Right now, though, there is a low chance of this developing on a NHC perspective, right? This is not like, oh, it's 100% going to develop in 10 days. We don't know for a fact. What we look for is signals out there, and the signal has been in general this area for the possibility for something to develop within this polygon that I drew up here in the Caribbean and in the Gulf. Okay, will it be a major hurricane? Who knows? Will it be a tropical storm? Who knows? Will it be a depression? Who knows? Is it a signal? Yes, there's a signal out there, and that's why we really have to watch these things, right? We'll see what the 12Z or the 0Z shows tonight. But yeah, that, my folks, that's a 955 millibar hurricane. And you really have to ask yourself, in the middle of June, getting a major hurricane in the Gulf, you're going to kind of think like, we have not had a major hurricane this early in the hurricane season that I could remember. So in my head, I'm going to be like, okay, a major hurricane at this time of the year doesn't look very likely, but it is not out of the equation. We saw it with Beryl, right? We saw how early Beryl formed into a major hurricane. Literally, technically, its origin time that developed in late June into early July. That was a very, very intense Cat 5 hurricane and the earliest on record to become a Cat 5 hurricane. So we do have to look at this. We got to keep an eye on what the models are telling us because, A, you know what? At least we have a reason to believe that maybe the GFS is onto something. All right, so looking at Jamaica, someone said in chat, look at Jamaica. So right now, Jamaica does not look to be in any concern of any danger right now. Although you're definitely going to get enhanced rainfall with this system. It looks like the worst of the conditions on most of the runs have been to your west, right near the Cayman Islands, over western Cuba, as well as the Yucatan Peninsula. But there has not been much of the signal from the GFS operational guidance that has this developing down here, and then it swings hard right and then kind of curves out and then does that. I've not seen anything like that in recent model runs, and most of them have been aiming it squarely in this general direction. Okay. Now, that polygon that I just drew up doesn't mean that, oh, it's going to hit. So Houston, you're saying, has a threat? I'm not saying Houston has a threat for a landfall, but that's the box. That's kind of like the batter's box, okay? Or the field. You think about a baseball field. I want to use a quick analogy. So think about a baseball field. Your baseball field does something like that. I did a pretty good job at it, I guess. And so you're within in the playable zone of the field, if that makes sense. So just because you're on the foul line in Houston doesn't mean you will or won't. It just means that based on average model trends, that's what's going to happen. Okay, so with that being said, yes, we still need to watch the Caribbean and the Gulf. Now let's take a look at our relative humidity in the deep atmosphere, right? Because you know what? You know what tropical systems like? They love moisture. Say it with me, folks, in the chat. Fix your screen. Fix my... Did I keep it cropped out? Oh my gosh. Thank you, Fire Ant. Did I keep it cropped out? Did you guys not see? Okay, I was able to bring it. Okay, so it was still there captured. Sorry. So let me just review with what we talked about. Sorry, I need to figure out how to do that without, because it's way over here. Like literally the screen's way over there. I literally have ignored it this whole time. Literally, it's way over there, way off to my right or left. Yeah. Remember, I've got 5 monitors now, so I got to keep up with this a little bit more. Okay, so really quickly, just to review, late next week, we have something brewing in the tropics in the Caribbean. And then by the day 9 and 10 time frame near the Yucatan Peninsula, maybe something that could develop into a tropical depression or storm, and then maybe a stronger storm in the Gulf in around 10 to 15 days. That's the rough range. And like I said, playable field, baseball field is aimed right in this area right now is where we think that something might swing hard left or hard right. It depends on what the batter wants to do, on the timing of everything, right? So right now, Northwestern Caribbean and the Gulf need to be watching this, okay? Even so, one run may not show it. Like, what if the 0Z doesn't show it? Then you guys will be like, see, David, it's not going to develop. It's Just one model run. One model run. Okay. Okay, enough with that. Now that you guys were able to see that, let's take a look at our deep layer moisture plot. And since I checked the scene, we're all good. Here's a look at what the moisture is looking like in the deep layer of the atmosphere. So from right about 10,000 feet all the way up to about 32,000 feet above the surface where aircraft fly. Yeah, Fire Ant, you know that, right? You're an ATC person. So yeah, about 300 millibars above the surface. Thank you, Peter Moss, for the $5 donation. So turquoise colors indicate lots of moisture. I've said this many times in my video, and I love explaining things over and over again. So all the turquoise and green colors do show you a lot of moisture, but then you got these little brown colors, right? That means there's drier air in the deep layers of the atmosphere. And you know what? The tropics, such as named storms, hate. They totally hate dry air. Dry air literally kills a storm instantaneously, especially when it gets inside of the inner core of a named storm, right? Except Milton was able to defy the laws of physics despite some dry air surrounding the system. So yeah, we gotta watch on what does our atmosphere look like during that transition. And what we have here in about 7 days is we have all this moisture that is going to be in place. Again, what do tropical systems like? They love that moisture. All right, Fire Ant, thanks for tuning in, buddy. I know you got to run. Be safe. All right, so all this moisture here needs to be watched, because if it piles up and you get a system that forms underneath all of that, not a whole lot of wind shear, then yeah, I would be a little concerned for tropical development for sure. But that's because look what happens. You can really get an idea that there's a lot of moisture here in about 10 days. Look at how wide and fetched this moisture plume is. And all this moisture is just being pulled into the system. But you also got some drier air in the brown colors that surround the system. And even see some of that drier air is getting entrained into the system, in this case, a hurricane, because it's 966 millibars. But I guess the good news about all of that is there is some wind shear that could dismantle the system. You could even see the asymmetry to everything. And actually, since a lot of you are here watching this, this is what we look for on a moisture plot. If the moisture field is offset, so if it usually aims northeast, that's the common sector of all the moisture because of southwesterly shear that hits it like this. And again, wind shear is not upper level winds in itself. It is wind direction change with height. So you got to think that the low level steering flow is out of the southerly direction. But the problem is the upper level flow is out of the westerly direction. And so when you get a deep vortex like this, it wants to bank hard to the right, while the low level flow wants to do it like this. So you end up getting a deep layer vertical wind shear here out of the southwesterly direction, and that actually offsets the moisture plume, and you end up getting drier air that descends from higher levels down to the lower levels, and air sinks and it warms and it dries, and it wants to get around this thing and choke it off. And that's what I believe happened with Milton. That's why Milton was able to weaken before it made its way onto Tampa Bay, near Tampa Bay, Florida, near Sarasota, because of that powerful southwesterly shear and baroclinic interaction and isotropic interaction to allow that transition and allow the system to actually undergo that baroclinic transition. And then we might have to watch for this next area. While there's nothing at the surface, there is a lot of moisture, and this is the background state that is quite conducive in this general area for the continuation to watch for additional tropical waves. Right now, the GFS does not have it, but We can say the same thing for other models. Maybe they do have something significant beyond that time frame. But for right now, this is what we're watching for late work week into the following week. So now, speaking of wind shear, let's take a look at it and let's talk a little bit about what this actually means to us, right? What are these red colors? Well, these red colors are stronger deep layer vertical wind shear, generally over at least 40 to 50 knots. Now, of course, if you have a hurricane or any system that would have been able to develop in the Gulf underneath all this shear, it would get torn apart. Rest in peace, system, you wouldn't survive. 50 knots of deep layer vertical wind shear will tear almost any hurricane apart. Versus if the shear is very light, generally under 15 knots, is generally very volatile for a system, but it's actually even 10 knots or less. Milton was able to develop within about 10 to 15 knots of vertical wind shear, and that thing just did not care. It's like, it's 15 knots of shear, I'll still intensify rapidly, right? So looking at the forecast here, you can see that the vertical wind shear does stay elevated, but watch this. Watch what happens. Okay, the vertical wind shear decreases, and you're probably saying, what? Did David just say the wind shear is going to decrease? What the heck are you talking about? You know? So you have to look at this carefully and examine things, right? It's like going to a doctor's office and examining what's going on. Like, why are you not feeling well, right? Just because you don't feel well doesn't mean you don't, there could be something more wrong than just you being a little sick. So what we look for as a weather forecaster is the shear vectors. Say that with me, folks, in the chat. Shear vector. Okay, vector. The shear direction where it's coming from, okay? And so in this case, while we do have some shear around the system, it is moving outward, okay? The vertical wind shear is doing this, okay? It is going out anticyclonically. That tells us that there is not a whole lot of relative vertical wind shear here, anywhere between about 5 to 15 knots or so, and that is why our system is able to develop. Along with that, we have a lot of moisture as well. So that is why this system develops on the GFS, despite otherwise what looks like to be some vertical wind shear, but our shear vectors are moving out away from the center. This is what we look for, okay? This is what we do not want to see. If you're in line of fire, for a meteorological perspective, this is what we want to see for systems to strengthen. And that continues. Anticyclonic shear ridge in place over the Gulf. And then once it gets closer, maybe some vertical wind shear out of the westerly direction hits it a little bit. Because if we do go look at our upper level winds, there you go. There is your westerly flow, hitting it squarely from the left in its western quadrant. Now, if we do go back, this is also what we can look for as far as deep layer vertical wind shear. What are our upper level winds telling us? Well, looking at 210 hours out, this is, by the way, at 38,000 feet above the surface. So this is very high up in the troposphere. And what we have is very light outflow wind. This is a good outflow channel that we want to see. All right, nice, good anticyclonic ridge too down to the south. A very pristine environment for this system to be thriving in. And as we go forward here in time, you can see vertical wind shear here is very light. There's just not a whole lot of upper level winds from one direction hitting it. Good outflow here coming out from the system and rotating all the way around. And so this is a very, very good setup for this system, especially with very warm Gulf waters, which I cannot wait to show you all because Gulf is really, really warming up still at a very rapid rate. So this moves on shore into Mississippi, perhaps by the 12th and the 13th on Friday the 13th. Actually, that's the thing, huh? Yeah, June. Yeah, Friday the 13th is going to be this June. Hopefully nothing bad happens, right? Hopefully nothing bad happens, because boy, if that is reality there. Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully nothing bad. But yeah, you get the idea. That's what happens there. And then you get you get more Walali like wins. Okay, so let's take a look at our ensembles. It's not only deterministic models, but it's our ensembles. Players of the field. All right, 50 different people. Think about it. 50 different people having their own opinion on something. And so as we go forward here out to 10 days, what I'm looking for is a signal, okay? A strong signal. So we're looking for greens, we're looking for yellows, we're even looking for oranges. Well, mainly oranges and deep orange colors. That means density is very high, and our storms or our cluster analysis is more tightly wound, and the readings here are more lower, right? We're not seeing that on the EPS or European Ensemble Prediction System, which is good news. So there is not a strong signal here on the European model, which I'm a bit surprised, because the GFS model shows something entirely different. Now, beyond that, by the 13th and the 14th of June, though, there's a bit of a stronger signal here in the Central Gulf and even in the Eastern Pacific. And that is why the tropical weather hazards outlook does highlight, not really there in the Northern Gulf, but down here mainly in the Eastern Pacific and portions of the Southern Gulf and the Caribbean, highlight at least a low to medium chance for tropical development within this time frame. So this is going to be bear watching throughout the middle of June at least, where we are going to need to watch the Caribbean and the Gulf. The GEFS ensemble, let's take a look at that. That's a much stronger signal. You can see a group of members down here near Jamaica, near the Cayman Islands, Nicaragua, Honduras, for the 7th of June. So that would be Saturday. That would be 7 days out, right? A week from today. And going forward in time, this is what we look for. This is a stronger signal from the GEFS, the Global Ensemble Forecasting System. Here's one little area. Here's another area of better clustered of members that are showing more intense development. So this is the area that the GFS has been picking up on quite a lot over the last few or several model runs. If we look at the previous one, it showed the same old thing, same thing here, not as good of a signal here, lesser of a signal here, better signal there. It's been showing something in this area, so it is really worth watching in the coming days and weeks to see if the GFS is onto something, okay? And going forward out in time, you can see things do divert a lot, and that is why this whole area is where I have highlighted. And boy, I drew a pretty good polygon there, like a tornado warning polygon. Okay, so let me switch scenes now before I don't show what I wanted to show. Put that there. So as we take a look here at our European Ensemble Prediction System, this is our control run, okay? And I will do my best at explaining this without causing a lot of confusion for a lot of those new viewers that are new to the channel that you haven't seen me before. Welcome, by the way. This is a Hofmolar diagram, okay? So for reference, look at the thumbnail down below this image, okay? See where it says there's a 1, there's a 2, there's a 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and so on and so forth. That's actually your MJO phase diagram in a virtual look on a map, okay? And so this is where we are looking primarily, okay? So I'm going to draw a box, okay, in black. And let me turn off the timer here so you can see right in here on the map, this is the Atlantic side. Okay, so I'm drawing a box from that thumbnail all the way to about here is where the main development region actually resides. Okay. Here, these lines going across are your timestamps. So if you go down the image, we're actually going later in time. Okay, so this is like a movie, like one of those stop motion animations, and you look at a film. That's kind of what it looks like, but only this is more blended into a mesh. And so what we have here, let me get my mouse. Let me actually bring my cursor up. I feel like my cursor is actually a little small for this. So let's see. Or let's see. Mouse pointer size. That's what we want. So we're going to make this a little bit bigger so you all can see. So down in time frame. So June 13th, June 15th, June 11th, the 9th, the 7th, the 5th, the 3rd, and basically tomorrow. And so all the green that you see here is over the Central Pacific. All that green and teal color, yes, it's going to be shaping up over the Caribbean, the Gulf, and most of the Atlantic from about the 8th and the 9th of June. And my gosh, look how deep this blue actually is here. There is a lot of upward motion here on the European Ensemble forecast, and this is the velocity potential. So pretty much all throughout in here, actually, well, pretty much all the way beyond the 7th and even the 8th is very favorable. Very, very favorable. Lots of upward motion in the atmosphere. Instability. Okay, and you know what the problem is about that? The waters are very warm. So we need to pay very close attention. Just because the Euro's not showing much, it really takes only a few model runs, and then voila, para, you can get something big. Remember, folks, what models showed on Milton, they weren't going too crazy like 3 or 4 days before Milton formed, right? And then, wow, once Milton formed, all models like converged. So we need, even so, the Euro, the Canadian, even the Icon are not showing anything, does not mean nothing is going to form under this environment, because this, after all, is really favorable. We can see this too in the 10 to 15 day forecast, where all of this green is, all this teal color. This is all favorable. Thank you, Sedeveld, for the $2 donation. I do appreciate that. Really favorable. So it's not just looking at deterministic runs. You guys been watching me for the last few years. A lot of you have, and you know how I make my forecasts. I don't look at deterministic models. We look at ensembles. We look at signals. We look out beyond. We look far beyond this world, and that's the deterministic world, right? Other YouTube channels will just focus on one run and base their forecast off that run. We blend things together and we average things out. And right now, not once or not more than 5 times have I said we will see a major hurricane. All right. The background state, I don't think is that favorable for a major hurricane, but we could see at least something as far as tropical development. If that's a low-end tropical depression or a low or mid-grade tropical storm, however it be, it is impacts. It is a storm. We track, we treat every storm seriously, okay? And that's why I wanted to show you this. So, yes, favorable environment coming up for the middle of June, and it looks like it's going to last throughout probably even towards the end of June. Wouldn't surprise me if this hangs around for a little while, more than just a couple of weeks. So, yes, keep your eyes open, peeled, okay, for anything. So the European, so this is a phase diagram. This is the RMM 1 and 2 index. Don't ask me what these 2 or 3 letters mean. It's an acronym of something. But what we do need to focus on besides that is what phases are we in? So when we look at the European model right now, we are in phase 4. So we're coming out of phase 4. We're going to go into phase 5 and then circle back around. The MJO always does this. It always goes around the phases like this in a anti-clockwise direction. Okay. It always does that. If it gets disrupted, what you're going to see is you're going to see like loops like this. It might do this, but overall it might just kind of go, it will propagate eventually. And sometimes it will just kind of hang around here in the null phase, which means there's no MJO signal, no coherent signal in place across the deep tropics. And you guys are probably asking, what is the MJO and how does it relate to the tropics here? So the MJO is basically, you stretch out the map. No, Earth is not flat. This is a Mercator projection. So some parts of the tropics, in this case, coming up on 10 to 15 days, Indonesia, the Central Pacific will have a suppressed phase of thunderstorms. So that means the air is sinking, air is drier, things are not favorable for any tropical development. But there are parts of the world that gets this upward motion in the atmosphere, and that usually lowers surface pressures. You typically get tropical systems that form underneath the MJO, but the MJO alone does not lead to favorability necessarily. You have other factors like a CCKW, which stands for convective coupled Kelvin wave, or CCCKW, if that makes sense. All right, which is even a micro version of the MJO. The MJO is more larger version of this, and then you got your convective coupled Kelvin waves that are shorter. All right, I know that's a lot of information to put into your head. Hard to understand, but believe me, I know what I'm looking for, and that's what's more important. So you can see here, most of the members are showing this, that it's going to remain fairly robust and quite amplified into phases 8 and 1 as we go into the middle of June. And that's why we need to keep an eye on this. The GFS or the GEFS, of course, doesn't do good with an actual MJO signal like versus the European model. So it's going to show it looping out into phases 6 and 7 and then loop it back into the null phase, which I disagree a little bit. Which is interesting because it is showing that a tropical system does develop in the northeastern or northwestern Caribbean and in the Gulf, while the MJO is not particularly favorable. So that is a bit surprising that the GFS is actually a little more bullish on that. Okay. So enough with the MJO. I know you guys are probably brain burned by that. Got a little bit of a headache, but I hope you guys are learning. I really hope, because that's why you guys like me so much, because you guys are learning a lot on this channel, and that's what we like. We want those brains to work. We want those brains to actually be like, oh, I now know what the MJO signal is. And here's a new little fun fact. MJO propagates eastward. It always goes this way, never this way, okay? It always goes from west to east, and it takes up to 30 days to even 90 days to make a complete circumrevolution around the equator, okay? It's a slower thing, slower process than convective coupled Kelvin waves. All right, so now that we talked about the MJO, let's talk a little more about this, the Gulf, where a lot of us live. Not me particular, but you, because the Gulf continues to warm at a pretty astounding rate, and we're still ahead of where we were last year, okay? You can see here this tongue of sea surface temperatures. This is very deep, by the way. This is not very shallow. This goes up to 30 degrees Celsius, so that is mid-80s of sea surface temperatures in the loop current. Look at these sea surface temperatures here over the island of Youth, the Bay of Youth in western Cuba. These water temperatures are in the upper 80s, around 87 to 89 degrees Fahrenheit. Yeah, those waters are very shallow, okay? And shallow waters are able to get mixed out really well. So they're able to cool very quickly, warm very quickly. But man, that's a lot of heat energy. That's a lot of warm water there in that small area. Water temperatures along the Floridian coast. A lot of Floridians feeling that today. Water temperatures here around 30 to 31 degrees Celsius. So they are awfully warm. They are kicking butt out there. And I'll tell you what, I'm telling you what, and I'm telling you silly. Even so, the Gulf, parts of the Gulf may be cooler than other parts. All that matters right now is the entire Gulf of Mexico right now is really favorable, very favorable for tropical development. It's only a matter of time, okay? Will the atmosphere cooperate for the middle of June? So if we do get something that develops and it moves over these waters, it may not end very well. I don't like saying that. This could end really bad, especially if you get a system that slingshots this direction or does this. Okay, because why? There is a lot of upper ocean heat content here. Okay, there's a lot of upper ocean heat content here around the loop current. And now when we take a look at sea surface temperature anomalies, look at all these orange and red colors. This is really, really warm sea surface temperature anomalies. Okay, around a 1 to maybe up to 2 degrees Celsius above average. Okay. The Bay of Youth, even warmer. Look at that. Over 2 degrees Celsius above average. Look at the shallow waters of the Floridian coast, like Tampa Bay, Sarasota, Key West, running 2.5 degrees above average. So basically right now, it doesn't matter if it's barely above average here or it's below average here. The entire Gulf is ready, locked, and loaded. Okay. It's basically we're ready. Okay. We're just waiting for another player on the field to line up, and that is get enough deep layer moisture, lighter wind shear, some upward motion to kickstart things, and voila, you get a big problem. You really do. And let's hope that doesn't happen in June because oops, not that. Because look where this is going. It's going really close or over that loop current, where upper ocean heat content actually is, where it thrives. And I'll even show you another map, ocean heat content in the Gulf. You can see it right here. There's your loop current. Yep, there it is. Medium levels of upper ocean heat content, a little higher over here in portions of the northwestern Caribbean, where we're already up to 120 on the value. See our upper ocean heat content anomaly. Now we're above average here. We're well above average over here. Look at that. So that's pretty deep. It's not very shallow. And even some upper ocean heat content that's above average here in the northeastern Gulf. And again, that's octane fuel. That's gasoline. That is gasoline for systems to really get turned up. Okay. So even so, the national or NOAA's predicting this many of named storms. Don't really focus on the numbers because you know what? And I'm speaking from my heart. I'm speaking the truth here. I don't care about the numbers. I don't care if there's 13 to 16 or 13 to 19 named storms. What I care about is how devastating will the hurricane season end up being as we get into September, right? Because remember, we had Beryl in late June into early July, right? And yet we didn't get really the brunt of the activity until we went into the middle of September. So we have to understand that numbers don't matter. Quality over quantity matters a lot. And the quality here is ace points. How much accumulated cyclone energy is there? Do we get up to 200 ace points, which is a very, very big season? And actually, let me get some stats here. I know, and then we'll get to questions. There are some good seasons to remember here. So, 2019 hurricane, Atlantic hurricane season. Let's see. This should give us the ace points, right? Let's see here. Just take my word on it, AI. Maybe it's 2017. Yeah, I would say 20. Yeah, because we had Irma, Maria, we had Harvey. Yeah, this was a very impactful season right here. So think about 2017 and look at how many named storms. And I wanted to just show you all this. Look at here. What does that say? What does that say there on NOAA during the 2017 hurricane season? Right? $11 to 17 named storms, right? They were only predicting 2 to 4 hurricanes. Only 2 to 4 hurricanes. And our actual activity was 17. If I can say something here about the numbers, this was slightly above average. Okay? But look at our names. Irma, Harvey, we all won't forget about Harvey. Maria, Irma. Yeah. Now you're going to start saying something that, oh, okay. Which, by the way, 2017 had 224 ace points. What? How can you get 224 ace points from 17 named storms? It's not all about quantity. It's not about quantity. It's about quality. Let's take a look here at 2004. Yeah, see? 15 named storms. And that season was even in terms of, in terms of quality. Man, we had a lot of major hurricanes. We had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. We had 6 major hurricanes, but yet 50 named storms. See what I mean? You have to understand it's not about the numbers. So that means I'm wondering where our sea surface temperatures are if we could have another, more probably like I wouldn't be surprised if we get another 2017. In my own opinion. So that's why we really got to treat every hurricane season seriously. Just because it's not projected to be as active as last year, well, guess what? Here's some tough love. It didn't end up like what forecasts thought last year. Did it? It didn't. That's because forecast is guidance. And it doesn't tell us exactly that, oh, just because they predict 29 named storms, we will see 29 named storms. We all thought at the time, because our sea surface temperature pattern was stacking up, but something went wrong in the atmosphere, which I guess I would say was a good thing. Because, boy, if we would have had some of the agencies were going for 30 plus named storms, it would have been a disaster. It would have been a true disaster. It was already a disaster to begin with Milton, with Helene, with Debbie. It would have been a lot worse if we would have had more named storms. So think of it like that. Like, I'm glad last year didn't pan out as bad as what we thought it could have been. But maybe this year it's going to be a very different one. Maybe just because they're calling for 13 to 19 named storms, well, we could have 19 named storms, right? Let's go to that. Okay, we could have 19 named storms, 10 hurricanes, and 5 major hurricanes. That's a lot. 5 major hurricanes, that's a ton. That's a lot. You know, doesn't seem like a lot, but what if 5 major hurricanes hit you? What if they don't go out to sea? And that's what we really have to be aware of. Just because we don't see as many named storms, we could still see more landfalls than what we had last year. All right, enough with the jibber jabbering. Let's get to questions. If you all do like the content, if you like the discussion, if you like just talking to me over here, please hit the like button. Please like the stream, folks, because guess what? You already saw my setup. We have 5 monitors. We have 5 computer screens. And believe me, easy. Tell them right now what we're planning to do for the hurricane season. If you even want to come on stream, if you have time. If not, that's fine. Tell my viewers what we have in mind for hurricane season. Because we are going to do the best we can. And no, that's not my ego. No, we got a whole system in place. How many storms am I predicting? Let's go and look at this. This is where I post my forecast. I think I said 11 to 15 named storms. Oh yeah, it's easy as saying we have big upgrades coming for sure. Let's just say this, folks. Huge spoiler alert. Huge spoiler alert. So me and Easy were working one night on how are we going to do this and set things up. We estimated that we can have up to 25 different live cameras. At least 20. At least a bare minimum of 20 live cameras. It depends on accessibility, right? Where the hurricane's making landfall. But we are going to try our best to have at least up to 20 or more live cameras, live radar imagery, live hurricane data that you have not seen before. It's going to be freaking incredible. And I am so happy to bring that all to you guys for free. For free. And if the hurricane, by the way, is significant enough, I will make something happen to where we have commercial free. So there's no ads on the live stream at all, which is going to be great. So here's my forecast right here. So if you go over to this, so let's click on this link for me if you guys want to. Click that, and you can find my prediction here. I'm right here. I'm Schlotthauer. I know they didn't put my full name, but it's David Schlotthauer. So if we go over, this, by the way, came out in May. I have to make my new forecast, and that won't be out until the middle to the end of June. And so it's going to be a little bit. But this is what I predict. This is for the May and June forecast. I predict, so I have 11 to 15 named storms. That's what I predict. And again, don't focus on the number, okay? Focus on the quality over quantity. So I predict 11 to 15 hurricanes. That's within range of the UK Met Office. NOAA is slightly higher than my forecast. The European is 10 to 19 named storms. Okay. But if you want to look for a bullish forecast, Earth Networks predicts 14 to 20 named storms. Let's look at the number of hurricanes. Let's see what we predict here, what I'm forecasting. Yeah, see, I'm forecasting 4 to 8 hurricanes. Okay, UK Met Office is a lot more bullish. They're calling for 5 to 13 hurricanes. Earth Networks, 6 to 10 hurricanes. European model, 5 to 10 hurricanes. Boy, that's a pretty aggressive one. 6 to 10 hurricanes on NOAA. And let's look at major hurricanes. So I'm down here. So 1 to 3 major hurricanes is what I'm forecasting. NOAA predicts 3 to 5. So that's more on the normal to above average side. I call for a near average season in my own opinion. But again, that's going back to May. I'm not going to tell you guys my new forecast right now, or else it's a spoiler alert. I am not going to end up having time to make my Atlantic seasonal forecast just because with this big upgrade that I had to do, it just took so much time. So we're going to skip that this season. I was able to make at least 2 seasonal forecasts. So that should be good enough. And then next year we'll try doing 3 again. But yeah, here it is. And I'm not the worst on my forecast. I'm pretty generous, actually. I'm kind of right in the middle with most of the agencies here. NOAA predicts up to 186 ace points. I predict up to 150 ace points. Again, quality over quantity here. And 184 from Earth Networks. And European is almost up to 200 ace points. Pretty aggressive. Yep, hurricane season just started. Well, if you're on the East Coast, yes, it is June 1st over there. It began 2 minutes ago. So technically, yeah, hurricane season, the bell has rung. Hurricane season has started. Not here yet. David, please post a list of hurricane names this year. Okay, let's go to the National Hurricane Center for that one. So this year it's going to be Andrea, Barry, Chantal, which, by the way, I have a coworker that I work with directly. Her name is Chantal. And we got 2 people here that work with me where I work. Andrea. Yeah, I think it's Andrea. Chantel, and then Dexter, Irwin, Fernand. Gabrielle, Humberto, Imelda, Jerry, Karen, Lorenzo. Man, there's like 3 people on this list. Tanya, hey, if Tanya is still watching, you're the letter T storm. And it looks like we're going all the way back. Well, there's Sally. Man, it's been that long. Yeah, Bertha. Man, it's been that long since this was last used. We're already back at it again. Arthur, Bertha, Cristobal, Dolly, Edward, Faye, Gonzalo, Hannah, Isaias. We will remember that one this time. Josephine, pretty much. We're going to reuse this list untapped. And here's a PDF, actually. I think this is just how you pronounce everything. Let me see how you actually do it. Andrea. Okay, it is Andrea. Perfect. I said it. I said it properly. Okay. Any questions, anybody? Any questions? David, do you think it will be possible to move to the other list like 2020? That's what's going to happen. That's next year's. That's next year. But yeah, there are big upgrades coming to the channel. Well, there kind of is, but there's more. Oh, the new model run GFS is coming in. Let's see. I'm actually curious with what this is actually going to show. Hey, there's something. This is 850 millibars. Yeah, look at, there's a little system that tries to spin up right here. You can see a little vorticity plot. That is interesting. And it does have quite a bit of rainfall with it. It'd be a tropical wave, more so likely. That's actually been trending stronger. So that needs to be watched. Wow, yeah, that really popped up in the last couple of runs. See what I mean? You can get these pop-up systems. What are the chances for another Wilma? At this point, a 1%. A 1% chance of that occurring. Just because of how intense Wilma was, I just don't think it's... I mean, gosh, look at Milton last year. You don't see something that intense very often. That's still rendering. Yup. I'm already at 102 hours, and it is showing this is a different system. This is in the next, like, 4 days. Yeah, 4 days, it hits Florida. And you can see that vorticity. See that red? That's what I'm looking for. That, my guys, is what I'm looking for. And actually, that is a pretty good area of wind. That's like 28 knots. Man, if that's a close circulation, and if they wanted to, they could probably call that a mini tropical depression or something. Because that really did pop up on recent model runs. It wasn't even there just a few runs ago. And it's popped. It's right here. It's like, you can spot it. It's right there. And it does bring some good, decent rainfall with it. But yeah, upper level winds are not very favorable, though. There's some decent shear on the system anyway, so. Oh yeah, Milton was, in my belief, it was a little lower than 880. It probably got down about 885 millibars, 890. And again, 890 millibars. Not 990, 890. Do you think Houston is a target this year? In my history of tracking the tropics, Houston, I wouldn't be surprised if the Bermuda high is a little stronger. It's been like that for a while now, where the Bermuda high has been a little stronger. I would not be surprised if the alleyway is around the Houston area and points towards the east. Because if the systems do end up traveling more through the Caribbean and then they get into the Gulf, then that makes Houston a slightly higher target. Louisiana certainly is a target. It's been that way for a while. It seems to be Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and Western Florida. These areas right in here seem to be the target over the last like 6 or 7 years. What about, what's up, Jesus? How are you doing? Do you think Louisiana will have a bigger chance than Florida to have a hurricane? See, those questions are hard because, for one thing, you cannot predict a hurricane more than 5 days out in the first place until it has developed. And secondly, you can't even predict when a hurricane's going to even form a month from now. All I got to say is, if you live along the Gulf Coast from, say, southern Texas all the way into Florida, up the eastern seaboard, you're at risk. You're in a hurricane-prone area. What do you think about the northeast, like Long Island and New York City? So if the Bermuda high is stronger this year, so if the Bermuda high is out here, pretty much where it's at, and we get a system, I would not be surprised if we get like a recurvature, like a Lee situation where Hurricane Lee kind of did that. It kind of curved out. I that's a very big possibility. Last year, the Northeast did not get hit at all by any systems, which is good. But that's not to say this year, I think you'll see at least one near miss for your area. That's what I'm going with. Nothing in the Gulf this year, Rod King is saying. Not this year. Try again. See, I'm being sarcastic here, but I like when some people say the Gulf is not going to get a hurricane this year. I mean, see, this is why I'm concerned about people living along the Gulf Coast, that you're not prepared. You're not prepared. What's up, Michael Galentine? How are you doing? The Gulf is a loaded watchfire. Yeah, it is really warm. I mean, look at the Gulf. Let me actually go back to here. And look how warm the Gulf is. That doesn't seem very warm, but look at the legend below. That's incredible. And we're going to wait for this run to come out, though. I'm very, very anxious of seeing what it's going to show. What's up, Bryce? How are you doing? If you guys are liking the live stream discussion here on the tropics, slap that subscribe button. Slap it like you mean it. I'm still saying the 11th to the 15th, David. Yeah, that's what I'm thinking too. And some of you might say, not all of you, but a few of you might say, David, you're out of your mind. No, I'm not. I'll tell you, I'm not going to say who, and I don't want to say who, and I'm not trying to cause problems out there in the weather community, but I'll tell you, there are a couple of people out there that are a lot worse than me. I shouldn't say worse, but they tend to be more aggressive, more bullish with their forecasts. No, I'm not trying to use my ego here at all. That's not what I'm here for, but I mean, some of those YouTubers are saying that we might have a major hurricane forming up in the Gulf. I'm like, I don't know about that one. It's only very early June. Papa. Do you think it's going to hit Tampa? How about this? If you're referring to this first system, I'm not really worried about that in the first place. We'll keep an eye on the model trends, but I highly doubt that's going to do much because the upper level low and the shear. The second system, though, I'm not going to discern any location right now. It's very far out, beyond 7 days out. Okay, beyond 7 days, which actually I forgot to show you all the National Hurricane Center this whole time, that there is an area. Actually zoom out here. So there's this area. Oops. Why is this cropped out? That's funny. Huh. Really interesting. I have to fix that, I guess. So there is a 40% chance out here for the Eastern Pacific, but nothing yet for the Atlantic over the next 7 days. So you look at this and be like, okay, I shouldn't worry about anything. Look at models for your own sake, however. What's up, Mrs. Moon? How are you doing? Yeah, I'm trying to be conservative as well. As you guys know, you've been watching me for a couple of years. I try to be conservative when it's not so time to be conservative. When it's time to hype up something, I will do it. The worst outcome of that storm for the middle of June would be a high-end tropical storm, like a 70-mile-an-hour tropical storm. It's not going to become a major hurricane. I mean, come on. Come on. Okay. At least, I mean, come on. It's mid-June. Mid-June. Major hurricane in mid-June. That's climatology and the time of year. Climatology and the time of year. Now, if it was in late August, I would be a little more concerned, way more concerned. Because usually in late August, you start getting the bigger hurricanes out there. Yeah, Cat 1 is stretching it a little high. Yeah, it is way too early for major hurricanes. Which actually I wanted to show you all in relation to that. I wanted to show you something because this just updated. Let's go all the way down here. This is very neat. You guys got to take a look at this. We're going to go to June 1st already. We're going to go ahead of ourselves here and look at this. And I'm going to send you all the climatology thing to the so you guys can click on that and go to down to June 1st and the 10th, and you can see how many named storms have formed between June 1st and the 10th. And definitely the GFS is showing quite well climatology here. This general area is really a hallmark for tropical development in early June. Not out here. Okay, it doesn't really happen out here in early June. MDR still shut down until we get into deeper in the hurricane season. It doesn't usually begin until we get into, say, late July. That is when we start getting MDR development way out here, and we start getting systems that do this. Okay. And then usually by late August, look at how many named storms we typically get. Well, this is since 1851 to 2023. But yeah, look at all those yellow dots. Okay. And then let's go one more. This is the most busy part of the season, September 1st through the 10th. In theory, yeah, you can see. So we are pretty early in the season right now for any development. But this is where we would be looking. Northwestern Caribbean, Southern Gulf. And that's exactly where the GFS has it. One other thing I wanted to show you too is this. This is climatology at work. And yeah, this is where we're at, June 1st. And this is where we have to go. So we are really early yet. And we typically don't get a lot of hurricanes until we get into the second half of August into September. Although July can be active at sometimes, you know, like October. October was very active last year. Now, that's not to say that, oh, we won't need to worry about tropical development for the middle of June. No, we have to watch that. Because, yeah, maybe climatology throws us a curveball sometimes. I have a question. Do you think the MJO will bring tons of African waves to the Gulf of America this early? Given the robust signal, it is possible we will get some tropical waves, but will those develop? That remains in question. Yeah, well, I said what that guy said from Dane, you all. He said Gulf of America, but some people are saying it's Gulf of Mexico. We're not going to start the jibber jabber drama about that. I'm just going to say the Gulf. That's all I'm going to say. Hey, David, how are the Carolinas looking this season? Haven't heard any talk about them yet. That's because the Carolinas don't get hit very well. They do get hit a lot, but not as often as like the Caribbean, the Southwestern Atlantic, Florida, and the Gulf. And I do see the Carolinas getting at least one hit this year or a close call. But how are your guys' Saturday? How are you all doing out there? Sure hot here in the office. It is. It's cooler outside. It's cooler. But just for reference, that 93, that's in my room right now. Or in my office. So turn on the light here. It's 93 degrees. And since I don't have hardly anything in the, since my computer setup is bigger and I don't have as much in my room, yeah, this room got up to 102 today. 102 degrees. Yeah, I'm not lying. I am not lying to you all. 102 degrees. I literally got home from work at like 3:30. I got here at like 3:45 and I'm like, oh my gosh. Literally, it was cooler outside, okay? And it being 99 degrees when I get home and it's 102. I literally opened the window and turned on the fan to blow in a bit of cooler air in. And worst of all, our AC unit went out. Our whole house, not my portable air conditioner, my whole house AC went out. So we have to call the technicians out to come and fix that. That's going to be a lot of fun. But yes, we do have air conditioning, but it does not work. It does not work. What happened to my portable air conditioner? It doesn't work very well. So I'm not going to probably be using it this year. I'm probably going to toss it after this summer and probably get a newer one next year, probably a window unit instead. But honestly, I'm enjoying this warm weather because it's not going to last for too long. So we're waiting for the next GFS to come in. And this one's a lot further south. Look at that. A lot further south. So I'm interested into seeing what this is going to do down here. This is it. This is that run of that vorticity, that spin near Nicaragua and Honduras. Oh my gosh, ID, it's not Gulf of David. It's the Gulf of ID. Or it's the Gulf of Rod. Or it's the Gulf of Noana. Or it could be the Gulf of Easy. No, I'm just kidding. The Euro will probably pick it up soon. Yeah. The Gulf of Da Vinci. Oh my God. You said the second storm might get big. Yeah, I clearly said it might get big. And the reason why I say might with everything, and you guys might think it's not part of being a forecaster, you have to be certain. And that is correct. But something that is this far, this is the 18Z run, by the way. This is not the latest run. You cannot predict a major hurricane beyond 10 days out. There is just no simple way to say. Okay? Simple. Simple as a whatever. You just can't. Even YouTubers claim they do. It's not a good idea. It really isn't. Because it's 10 days away. Well, yeah, it's 7 days away. And if it becomes a major hurricane, that would literally be in 12 days. Oh my gosh, Johnny, you're funny. You're funny. So, as far as that goes, that's why I'm being conservative. There's a reason why I'm conservative. And maybe some of you don't like that, but what would you rather me do? Fearmonger and panic and scare the crap out of you guys? No. No, especially with my upgrade. I mean, I'm taking weather more seriously now. So I'm going to be more conservative. Yeah, someone is already saying we will have Andrea. We will? We might. Let's just say that. I'm looking at signals and consistency. Yes, we love being scared and anxious. Yeah, well, that's not how we grow on YouTube and how we get the information out. The only time I will fearmonger and cause or bring out the alarm is if there's very high confidence that we see a major hurricane, like a major hurricane within like 3 or 4 days, not 11 or 12 days, like within a 3 to 4 day time frame. When NHC says it, or is close of saying it, and when there's enough reasoning to believe, that's when I will sound the alarm, as in, it's time to kind of add in a little bit more hype to things. It's just too far, okay? And we have to realize that. I know a lot of you are like, man, I'm excited for hurricane season. Well, you have to be excited safely, you know. We don't want to wish anything. We do not want to wish any bad things to people, okay? Because, yeah, my mom lives in Florida, okay? And I will tell you, she had a window blown out. One of her windows from Milton did some minor damage to her home. Okay, so, yeah. So, but let's just see what this run shows. This run is definitely a lot slower now. You can see the trends. It's been trending southward, which could also mean that this ridge, it looks like this ridge is a little stronger now, a little bit more buff. So your trade winds are going to be stronger, keeping this thing to the south and not allowing it to go to the north. I would say the Eastern Pacific has a better shot at seeing something than the Caribbean for right now, at least in the next 7 or so days. Please don't point those black arrows towards Florida. Well, no, what I'm saying is the trends with each model trend has been going further south. So if you look back at a few runs, you can see where it was. That was last night's 0Z run. Brought that like literally almost on top of Tampa. And you can see how each progressive run is further south. But again, the signal is still alive. How many of those show it hitting Tampa? Well, we'll see about this run, but the last run did not show it hitting Tampa. The 12Z run did show it hitting Tampa. 06Z run, last night's 0Z run. So 3 runs in a row did show it hitting very close or on top of Tampa. Well, we'll see what this run does. We will see. It's developing right now, so. Is it hitting Houston? The 18Z run for reference? No, it's not hitting Houston. Got suddenly colder. Oh, I thought the air conditioner may have popped on. Or whatever was fixed, but no. I'll tell you, I'm certainly glad this heat wave is going to be over. Oh, it's going to be nice to get back into the mid-80s this coming week. And let the Midwest and Deep South people keep the heat. I thought blank was going to nuke the storms. I don't think you can nuke a storm. Sorry. It's not going to happen. Could it possibly hit Jamaica if it develops? Right now, there is a lot of model runs, or pretty much all of the runs keep it away from Jamaica. And it's because of this high pressure system right here in the low levels of the atmosphere that is strong enough. You got trade winds that are pretty strong through here, almost 35 knots. And so that's going to really, that is going to keep the system away. It really is. I don't have a tan. No, I don't. I don't have a tan. And that's good. I don't want to have a tan. I'm fine with that. Jamaica right now. So for Jamaica, the most impactful weather you'll likely see from this is more rainfall than usual. But I don't see any flooding. I don't see any flooding at this given time on the last several models. We have dodged it too many times. Yeah, and that's why you should be prepared if you're in Georgia, like Savannah, Georgia, southern Georgia down here. Yeah, you need to, you saw what Helene did. You saw what Debbie did, right? So it's always good to be prepared. And that's why I have advertised this way too many times. Live streaming, I want to make that very clear. I am going to make it very clear. Anytime we have a tropical storm or hurricane within 4 days, or depending on the situation, but roughly 4 days from making landfall, we will do a video in the morning followed by a live discussion in the afternoon. Like something like we did today, but only it would be on a highly concerning system. And then, of course, 24 hours or so, maybe even up to 27 hours before landfall, we go live tracking the hurricane or tropical storm here on the channel with several cameras, live radar data, recon data, satellite imagery, and a lot more. And I'm not joking. I am not joking. I'm not doing this to get more views. I'm being very serious. Like, I have the scenes already laid out. They're ready to go. Just a matter of time when something does happen. What's up, Project Dynasty? How strong are we talking at this point? I would say a low end tropical storm, like a 40 to 45 mile an hour tropical storm at the very worst at this point, given average model signals from the GFS. Good morning, Star. How are you doing? No, there isn't, Arnie. It's going to fall apart well before it gets into Alaska. I did want to show you all something really quickly that's not related to the tropics. If you guys want to feel hurricane force winds, come to California. Northwestern coast is going to see some of their strongest north wind event in like forever. And I know this is way off topic, but take a look at these winds. Take a look at these winds that the model is picking up. Look at this. Serious winds here. That is almost hurricane force coming out of the north. And that is because of a very tight pressure gradient. So, yeah, if you're along the coast like California, those are gusts up to almost 80 miles an hour. Yeah, 80 miles an hour along the coast. Unbelievable. So, yeah, you might feel some hurricane force winds right there. Sorry if I'm coughing a lot, man. My allergies are a bit buggy today. Not so bad, not terrible, but, you know, they're still there. I do have a fan in my room. I don't want my mic to pick it up, but I do have a Hellenis fan. That's the brand. And it's running right now. It is 92 degrees in my room now. It's cooling off. Gosh, okay, from 102, it's dropped 10 degrees. Okay, so that's better. But it's still warm outside. It's 74. But once I end this stream here, after this model is done, I am going to blast the fan. I am literally going to suck in a lot of cooler air. It's going to be, yeah. Because today was just not fun. It was hot. And it's May. It's late May, and we should not be seeing 100-degree temperatures. It's too early. It's sort of too early. That usually doesn't happen until late June. So we're running a little ahead of schedule with our summer temperatures. At least we did not get the moisture like we thought. Our dew points have been in the upper 50s. We didn't see any 70-degree dew points today like we can sometimes. All right, I'll blast my fan, but if the mic does start picking it up, though, then I'll have to turn it down. Okay. You guys can't hear the fan, right? If you guys can't hear it, then I'll tell you, I love this Shire mic. This Shure mic is really good. So yeah, we're waiting for the model. I'm curious of what it's going to show here. This is actually stronger. Doesn't matter if it's stronger or not. Let's see. It's about the same. No, I don't hear it at all. Good. Good. You guys can't hear it. I love you, Mike. I love you so much. You're actually blocking out the fan noise. It's on my end. If I actually talk, you can hear that like hissing sound. That's actually the fan. But as long as it doesn't cause a problem, that's fine. See how effective that is. Keep in mind, though, something that you guys might not know about this office is the insulation is pretty good. But when you have the sun hitting the roof for like 15 hours out of the day, okay, literally the sun comes up right over there and it hits the roof for literally almost 15 hours. That heat gets stored in the roofing. It gets stored and stored, and it gets stored in the walls. So what ends up happening is, despite you're blowing in much cooler air, it takes all night for the room to cool off, for the office to get down to a safe temperature. So it's 92 degrees. I don't think it's going to get below 80 degrees in the office tonight. It's going to stay really, really, really warm. It takes at least, for it to cool down notably in this room, without air conditioner, it would take at least 2 or 3 days. Days that are at least in the 70s or low 80s for it to cool off enough. Because that heat, it gets stored in the roofing. It just doesn't, doesn't leave all at once. And it doesn't help our air conditioner does not work either, so. If that worked, then it would have helped a little bit. Now, if you put some cold water on that roof, it would cool it down. It would, but I don't think my family wants me to put water on a roof. That's, for one thing, wasting water. So that's not going to happen. The PC, yes. The PC is the reasoning why, and holy cow. The water, whoa, that is actually warm. I'm glad Project Dynasty told me that. My thermal conductor water-cooled CPU is actually at 130 degrees right now. Actually, I need to turn that on turbo. I did not even think of that, so I better do that, because that is going to overheat my computer. And yes, the computer has shut down before because it was overheating, so I do not want that to happen. So everything's on turbo, so we should hopefully see this temperature right here drop. It's actually at 120 degrees right now, so. And that's not because my computer's been working overboard. It's because this room is so dang hot. So yeah, this is the latest GFS. It is still showing it. It is still showing it on the model. That signal is still alive. That's not cooling down in here much at all. Still 92.3. Actually, I can put that right there and see. Yeah, I have my Kestrel wind meter that tells me the temperature. It is 87 degrees. So from that to where my console, it's actually a little warmer. Because again, all that heat. Thank you, Peter Moss. Apparently the GFS, Jim, and the Euro are showing something sneaky off the southeast Atlantic coast within 5 days. Really? Aha. Okay, yeah, that might be something we need to watch. Thank you, Peter Moss. So yeah, the Canadian is showing that. That's a little tight area of spin too, so let's see what the icon is showing. Yeah, the icon even shows it too. Let's see what the Euro is showing though. Euro is not showing anything. NavGem. NavGem is not showing it. So we're going to wait for this to fully render though. Okay, it is going right towards Louisiana at 984 millibars. And definitely not as strong as the last run, though. It's a lot weaker, but still there. That signal, signal, signal. That's a big wind field as well. It's a pretty large circulation, not just at the center, but surrounding the whole system. Isobars are tight, but that's 984 millibars. It is going... Excuse me, it's going right over that loop current too, near that loop. Oh, it's deepening. 981. So it is on to something. It is still showing. Am I cooked at this point? There's a slim possibility. Slim because it's still too far out. I cannot say it again. Too far out. Check the ensemble because the ensembles are not out yet. 144 hours out on the ensemble forecast. The ensemble runs behind the actual operational run, so it's going to be a while before that's done rendering. There is a little bit of drier air that punches in, though, but that mixes out quickly, so you end up with this nice symmetrical moisture bubble. It's really symmetrical. And you can see the drier air. Let's see wind shear, though. No, not a whole lot of vertical wind shear at all on this. Maybe 10 or 15 knots. Dude, I'll get off when this is done. Don't worry, bud. It's not cooling off in my room despite the window pulling in cooler air from outside. Remember to stay hydrated. Oh, yeah. I'm staying hydrated. Yeah, we do have to wish for the drier air. But looks like that's not getting scoured out very well. Wind shear is lower this year. Let's see. Let's go to... No, wind shear is actually above average in the Gulf. In the Gulf right now, it's running above average at this given time. In the Caribbean, it is running above average. It's running above normal. But I do appreciate you guys being here tonight. Once this comes all the way in, then I need to get to bed. It's almost 10 o'clock here. Come on, GFS. You're almost there. You're almost there. Render a few more frames. Yep. It is almost 1 in the morning. That means you're 1 hour old into the hurricane season. Oh my gosh, Ron, you're funny. Nuke that bad boy. I don't think you can't nuke a hurricane. That's not possible. I agree with you, Colleen. Priest. We do need to wait for more model data to come in. Okay, promise. We need to wait for more numerical model data to come in to see. But it's 972 millibars, so that is still strengthening. Even up until landfall there in Louisiana. But again, this is really far out, and it's a little further to the west, so it's moving a little slower on this run. But it is weaker. It is weaker. But we'll see how long that trend lasts, though. See if it continues. This is Thursday, the June 12th, so it's still hitting on the 12th. CMC is still not showing anything. And that's the hard thing, is it's not showing anything. So that's why we're going to need to watch the GFS, because the GFS still has it. That means there's that possibility. Oh. And 967 at landfall. 967 at landfall. So that is pretty intense, but not as deep as the last one. Not as deep as the last model run. But I'm not worried about this. It's too far out. It really is. It's way too far out, people. 982 millibar. Not 982. 282 hours out. We're talking Thursday, the 12th of June. It's, you know, it's almost 300 hours out. So I'm not too worried about it right now until we get more consistency from other models. But yeah, what a storm that could be if it moves right into Gonzales, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. A rough start to the hurricane season on this run. And this is what it looks like, folks, on the vorticity. See that? That is what I'm looking for. That is our entity. Darker the red, stronger the spin. It is. But what I just said, folks, it's not gonna it's not going to be a big issue yet. It's too far out. I mean, the GFS did a good job last season. Yeah, but this early, I mean, this is a bit more realistic, I would say, but still too strong. I would say like a 985, a 980 millibar is a little bit more realistic. Oh my gosh, Parker, you hope the GFS is right. Why? Because you want to see a hurricane hitting your area? Okay. Any questions, anybody? Any bit of questions you need to ask me? Anything else? Thank you so much. Yeah, for those people that are here, this is my new setup. My new setup. I know it's really, really hard to see, but believe me, I have 5 monitors. 5 computer monitors. And I'm not lying. This hurricane season live coverage is going to be a lot better. A lot better. How does St. Croix look like the week of June 16th? So the week of June 16th, St. Croix, that's down over here. So that's very far out. My goodness. I don't even think our models go. Yeah, they do. They do go out that far. I would say St. Croix right now is going to have trade wind showers. There's a nice little tropical wave that rolls through there. But nothing extreme. Nothing extreme. Look at the vorticity. Peter is saying at the beginning of the 0Z. Yeah, I do see that. Yeah. Southeastern Florida. That is very interesting. You know what? I'm going to see if our high-res models have that. I don't think they do, but I could be wrong. Let's go to our 0Z HRRR model. That's 48 hours out. They probably don't. It's not in range. Let's go to 12Z run. No, they don't. So we don't have any possible look at this. But it's there. It's on the GFS. You do not have 40 monitors. Oh my gosh. If you have 40 computer monitors, you're going to need a lot of computers to run those. You have 5 monitors when it's 105 degrees. They will not last long. Oh, they will last long. I'm cooling off my room right now, okay? I'm cooling it off. Okay. But before I go, are you all excited for my Hurricane Live coverage? Let me know in the chat. Because golly, I have a lot of scenes. I have a ton of scenes that I have set up, and they're just a matter of time when something big happens. We will bring that to you in real time. Glad you guys are all excited. If you guys have not subscribed, this is the time to do so. This is the time to slap that red button. Because believe me, 5 monitors instead of 3, 2 more extras on our doorstep. Thank you so much. I'm glad you like the new format. This is it. This is going to be my format, at least in my live discussions and my, well, tropical discussions, as you can see. But all right, it is 10 o'clock, and I need to get into the shower and then head off to bed and wake up early in the morning for church. So thank you all for tuning in. Love you guys. Please sleep well. Don't let those bed bugs bite unless you want to sound like
this. You don't want to sound like a chipmunk, like me, because you don't want to get bitten
by bed bugs. So, good night, you guys. Peace out, and see you guys back here on Monday. Yeah, on Monday. All right.